Describe the past performance, chicken and the egg scenario that some people perceive in government contracting.
Okay, so a lot of people do think that there is a chicken and the egg scenario when it comes to government contracting and past performance, and that looks like this. Okay, I can't bid on a contract because it requires past performance, right? But in order for me to gain that past performance, I need to win a contract to achieve that past performance. And once again, I can't because I don't have the past performance to put in the proposal to respond to. So a lot of people do come up against this scenario. The good news is that it's truly not a limiting factor many of the times in federal government contracting space, especially for new government contractors think that they can't even do government contracting because they haven't performed on a government contract yet. That's super silly. It's not true. And then there are other ways of kind of working with that or working around that. But that's essentially the thing that people come up against, and they just kind of give up in the space automatically when they hear something like that. It's not true.
How do you get started when you have no past performance?
Okay, so when you don't have the past performance and you still want to bid, number one, you can go after contracts that are not requiring you to have past performance. Not every contract, say you're on sam.gov, requires past performance in your proposal. So one thing that you can do is just not bid on those that do ask for past performance. Another option is on many proposals, many opportunities, you can work with what's called a teaming partner. You guys approach the proposal together as a team, and then if you are awarded, you become the prime and they become the subcontractor, and you both have your different roles to play. But through working with another company as a teaming partner, you're actually able to leverage their projects as past performance and put them in the team's proposal to bid on. So that's also a very common strategy, and there's a lot more that goes into it. But those are essentially two ways that you can handle an objection of past performance so that it doesn't necessarily have to be an objection that keeps you from, bidding and growing in the space.
Is there a difference between experience and past performance when it comes to writing your proposals?
So yes, there actually is a big difference between past performance, as we're talking about, and experience. A lot of people use them as the same, and I'm even guilty of at times using them both interchangeably in language synonymously. But there is a difference, especially when it comes to writing a proposal or an evaluator like a contracting officer grading your proposal response. Past performance, well, let's start with experience. Experience is the work that you have done. So technically, if you're asked for both experience and past performance, when it comes to the experience section, you are supposed to give them the actual contracts that you have performed on or projects you have performed on in the past. And this can look like, all the what's, right? Like what was it, where was it, when was it, etc. It's the typical information we could often see requested in past performance, but when we're asked for both, the experience is actually the project-specific information. Now, next, past performance is actually how well did you perform on the work. So high-level view experience is what was the work that you did. Past performance is how well did you perform on that work. So you're going to cite those same projects that you have experience in the experience section of your proposal, and then when it comes to the past performance section of the proposal, you're going to speak about how well you performed on those contracts, okay? That can be CPARS information, that can be cost control, that can be, were there any instances where there was like a safety issue, any near misses, right? Depends on the scope. Was the contract finished on time? Was it completed, on time or under budget? Was there contract mods, right? So this is all performance-related information. And yes, unless they're asking for a PPQ, like a past performance questionnaire, you are filling this information out about yourself, about your company, about the projects you performed on, or in some instances, your teaming partners. But experience is what you did. Past performance is how you performed on it. They're different things.
How do you select the best past performance to use in your bid proposals?
Okay, two things. If you guys are taking notes, write these down. The 2 R's. Very important, and you will see this. If you remember these, write these down, whatever, you will see contracting officer ask for these, and you're going to come across it more than once, okay? So there's recency and relevancy, the 2 R's when it comes to past performance. Recency is typically asked for between 3 to 5 years. So how recent was the work performed on the contracts that you're citing? You typically are not going to provide a project that you did 10 years ago. Okay, it's not going to be recent enough for them to consider because, hey, a lot has changed, in 3 to 5 years, right? Maybe approaches and methodologies, materials, things like this, they're not the same as they once were. So trying to use those projects are going to be more limited to you the further away on the timeline they are. Conversely, the more recent they were, the more weight that's going to be given to them, and the more confidence, essentially, that's going to give contracting in your proposal. So recency is number one of the 2 R's. The second 2 R is the relevancy. So how relevant is it? 2 things to consider. Okay, what was the scope? Okay, so when it comes to the scope, was this, an IT contract and you're trying to use the work that you did in an IT contract for a construction job? Okay, just 2 entirely different scopes. Not in a million years is that going to be relevant past performance for you to be able to use. It's not relevant, okay? That's just like an extreme example. The other example for relevancy is the dollar value, okay? So if someone builds birdhouses, right? Are they qualified to build a house for you and your family to live in? No, of course not, because the house is going to be, hundreds of times the complexity of building a birdhouse. So because you can do something small does not necessarily mean you can do something big. So relevancy is going to come down to the actual work being performed, the scope, as well as the price, the dollar range. And then don't forget recency, you're looking for over the next 3 to 5 years. Those are the projects you want to use for the past performances that you are citing. That's going to be the best performances you could possibly put into your proposals.
What information should you provide on your past projects?
Okay, so we touched on this a little bit. So if you do have a contracting officer asking for past performance info in your proposal, it's going to look something like this, okay? More things to write down, but good bullet points. Project title, what was it? Okay, where was it located? Okay, city, state. What was the dollar value or the dollar value range? Next, when was the dates that was actually the period performance when the work was being performed? Okay, from this date to this date. Or if there was option period, say it was another government contract, you want to be sure to include those dates as well. You also want to include a few scope sentences, okay? Like just high level, what was the project? What did you do on the project? Okay, what was the scope? Just, a little bit more than what the title can tell them, right? A few sentences. You also want to include some sort of point of contact information, a reference from that past job, somebody who could speak about your performance on that. Usually, an email, but it's, every bit is different. They could ask for phone numbers, whatever. And it's up to them if they're going to actually contact them or not. But emails is kind of like a good standard bit of information to give them up front. So if you can provide, those 5, 6, 7 bullet points that I just gave you for your 2 or 3 recent and relevant past performance projects you are using, that's going to give them a good overall comprehensive view of what those projects entailed. And if they have more questions, than wanting more information, they can either contact, once again, that POC reference, or maybe they can just ask you clarifying questions.
Are there other types of past performance you can use besides government projects?
Yes, so this is another really important one, guys. So is the only past performance you can use government past performance? Absolutely not. And this is good news for somebody who didn't know this. So number one, again, another good thing to write down, you can use commercial past performance. And again, this is likely what, if you're working with teaming partners, they're probably not going to be having direct government experience. They're likely going to be having commercial experience as well. So they worked on a McDonald's or they worked on a residential, right? These are commercial in nature as it relates to the scope and the projects. So just because it wasn't at a government site or government base, whatever, does not mean you cannot use that. But what you do want to make sure you are focusing on is, once again, the relevancy and the recency of those projects. It's more about that than it is who the customer was. And yes, sometimes the government will say, hey, we want to see federal contracts. but majority of the time you are able to also consider using commercial past performance. Another thing that you can use is what I like to call, and isn't necessarily named, but personal past performance. Okay, so when you look into the FAR clauses, you're actually able to use experience for key personnel, key employees that are going to be performing on the contracts. Say that they did work, just before coming to work with you, or say you had another company just before opening this one, and it's still very recent and very relevant, but you were just doing it under another company. You're also able to use that key personnel, that key man, that key employee project performance in your proposals, because it technically becomes part of your resume. And now you're on the team, or you're owning the company, so you're bringing that experience as well to the company. So guys, just a couple of other types of past performance that you can use. Also, any city, state, local contracts, goes without saying if you're doing government contracts on those levels, SLED contracts, anything like that, that also, of course, is usable in the federal space. Now, guys, nothing I'm saying is worth anything if you don't know how to actually write competitive and compliant proposals. And that's why I created GovRFP. So GovRFP is my proposal writing system. My students have used it for a number of years. And over the past 12 months, I put a lot of time really refining it, also implementing AI into the delivery of it to really make the application and practicality of, needing a government proposal, and you can sit down for a few hours with a training system, and by the end of it, you have a completed government federal proposal, say from sam.gov, right? Or even on a GSA schedule, anything like that. That's what this is created for. And I think it's one of the best trainings on planet Earth as far as I'm concerned, because of how nuanced and how specific it is. But it's also so beginner friendly, but also helpful to those who are already bidding on contracts and you want to take your proposal stage to the next level. So guys, I did set the first 3 modules as my free gift to you. If you made it this long in the video, you can get that right now to absolutely free. No credit card required even, that's how insane it is. All you need to do is put in an email so I can send it over to you. And you can access this if you're interested. GovKidMethod.com is my website. Just click GovRFP at the top and you'll see a button, unlock the free modules. And of course, if you're wanting the full comprehensive training, you have a proposal right now that you want to go after and submit. You may also want to consider getting the entire training to have on your side to go through everything, including pricing, not just proposal writing. So again, you can check that out at GovKidMethod.com, unlock those free modules. If you got something out of this video, guys, let me know down in the comments what stuck out to you. Smash the like button for the algorithm. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel, guys. We are one of the fastest growing YouTube channels, and we have been for quite some time here for federal government contracting. And would love to have you here and not to miss any future trainings that I release. So consider subscribing. And that'll do it for today, guys. Until the next video, we will see you in the next one. And thanks for watching. Take care.